I believe Joel was right. Neil Druckmann weighs in on The Last of Us most divisive debate. So I seen this headline, and this is something I wanted to go ahead and talk about just because I was someone that was a big fan of The Last of Us, and I never ended up playing The Last of Us 2. The Last of Us 2 was one of those games that I was really hyped up for, I was really excited about, but as more information had come out, and then seeing the way that Neil Druckmann and Naughty Dog had reacted to a lot of the fans out there that were talking about, the leaks that were going on at that time and everything, it just really left a sour taste in my mouth, and it was one of those things where I just didn't want to support the game, especially figuring out that a lot of the leaks that people were speculating ended up being true. So I'm going to go into it a little bit more as we go along with this article, just to kind of, give some of my thoughts on where I feel about this and everything like that. But yeah, as far as this statement goes, I'm going to take it with a grain of salt if I want to be honest with you guys. So we'll go ahead and get into this article and then I'll give my thoughts. So, was Joel right in The Last of Us? Even if you somehow never played the game before, you have almost definitely stumbled across this debate. The debate was received once again with the HBO show inviting an even larger audience to weigh in on Joel's actions at the end of the first game. For those of you still scratching your head, here's the spoiler filled recap. The Fireflies think there's a shot at curing the cordyceps infection, but that would involve killing Ellie. Joel decides to shoot his way through the Fireflies to save her, destroying the chances of finding a cure, a divisive move for obvious reasons. Now, this is one of those things that I've mentioned this actually a few days back on one of my other videos. I can't think of it which one it was off the top of my head, but where when I did play The Last of Us for the first time, I was so invested in the story and in, Ellie's character and everything like that, that when it came to that moment where you had to decide, what to do and everything, I went in. I went pretty hard. And I've mentioned it before. When you get to that scene where you're supposed to kill Abby's father, so the doctor, it was one of those things. The game doesn't give you a choice to kind of spare him. You have to kill him. So obviously that was one of the things I did. I ended up killing him. And then after I was done killing him, I took out my shotgun and then I ended up shooting both of the nurses just because I was so like invested and involved and in the moment that I was just like, nah, like you're not going to kill Ellie. You're not going to do this. Now, looking back, even after I was done killing the nurses and you kind of have to go and try to rescue Ellie, part of me was thinking to myself, like, damn, bro, like, did you go a little bit too much? Was that a little bit extreme on that part? You know what I mean? Kind of a thing, which I thought was kind of funny looking back because it did really question my morality and everything like that at the end of the day. Like, was that a little harsh on my end, But being in the moment and everything like that, especially being so involved with these characters, looking back, I'm like, yeah, it probably was a little bit extreme, but at the same time, I was so invested and so into it. So seeing this debate right here, I can definitely see where some people look at it in the sense of like, oh no, it was wrong what he ended up doing. But personally, I've always had the feeling that what Joel did was completely understandable with everything that he's been through, everything that happens throughout the story and that up to that point. So yeah, when it comes down to my own personal feelings, yeah, I feel like Joel was in the right. And then we'll go ahead and continue on. So now IGN put the moral dilemma in the series co-creator himself, Neil Druckmann, and he has very clearly made up his mind. Joel was right, says Neil Druckmann. The crew behind the TV show agrees with him too. So yeah, we'll see. So I believe Joel was right, Druckmann answers. If I were in Joel's position, I hope I would be able to do what he did to save my daughter. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I think Neil Druckmann is a piece of shit. From everything that I've learned about him and kind of seen him as, I don't know him personally, obviously, so I can't say definitively. But from everything that he's kind of shown us, as far as like being the developer, things that he's done with Naughty Dog, like behind the scenes kind of stuff, and then just the way the actions he's taken as far as the development of like The Last of Us 2 and everything like that, I don't agree with this man, and I feel like he's a liar. I feel like he lies a lot. He'll say one thing but do another. So seeing his response here saying that he believes Joel is in the right, I don't believe him. I think he's lying because of the fact that the way that Joel was treated in The Last of Us Part 2 makes me feel like they have not just Neil Druckmann but like the writers as well feel like what Joel did was wrong and that he should have been punished for what he did. So him coming out with this statement right here, I feel like he's just doing it to kind of save face, more than likely for the TV show to kind of make it seem like he's on other people's side. Because I guarantee you, he knows how people truly feel about this decision, and he knows that people don't agree with him how he genuinely feels. Because I believe that he thinks that Joel was in the wrong for doing what he did. So, I mean, again, I could be wrong, but I don't think so. From what I've seen from this man, I feel like he's a liar, and he's just saying this just to try to save, like I said, save face and kind of make it seem like he's on Joel's side, which I don't believe. And then Craig Mazin, who co-created the TV adaptation alongside Druckmann, is also on the side of the debate. I think that if I were in Joel's position, I probably would have done what he did, but I like to think that I wouldn't. So that's the interesting push and pull of the morality of it, and that's why the ending of the first game is so provocative and so wonderful. And yeah, I mean, like I said, personally, I was so invested in that moment that, you know what I mean. I definitely feel like I understand where Joel is coming from. And the fact that, you know, I mean, I'm not a father myself, but the fact that Joel looked at Ellie as like a daughter at that point, yeah, I feel like if I was in his position, I would definitely do what he did. And I feel like my thought process on that would more than likely change, no, wouldn't change if I decide, like if I ended up having a child myself, because one of the things as a parent is that you always want to protect your kids. You know what I mean? You always want to protect them. You always want to guard them from any type of harm and everything like that. So seeing that these people were in the midst of trying to kill Ellie, yeah, I feel like he was justified in his response and in his actions. And that's you know how I feel about it, and that's how I'm gonna feel about it. And then, no, many people argue that the cure wouldn't have actually worked. However, I don't think that was a major factor in Joel's decision making. Yeah, and that's the thing. I think it was someone had mentioned it before, and I think it was one of those things where it was like in one of the re-releases of it where there was like a note that kind of states that they had done this before. I don't know if it was in the games or if it was like something in the movie, something like that, where they had mentioned that there was other people that were immune as well, so they tried doing the same thing with them and the cure didn't work. So it's one of those factors when you read that and you kind of get a little bit more information on that. If you feel like they've done it before and it didn't work, more than likely it wasn't going to work with Ellie. So the fact they made this a part of the game kind of shows that, like, yeah, Joel was in the right at the end of the day. And then, as it happens, pretty much the entire cast of the show has Joel's back to, or at least finds his choice sympathetic. True enough, this is a common answer in the fan base. Joel might not have made the right decision, but it was a decision most of us would have made. Or as Bella Ramsey puts it, he saved his world, just not the world. And again, that's one of the things from, I'm pretty sure it was in the games. If they've done this before with other people that were immune, then he wouldn't have saved the world either. And I've also heard people make the debate too that more than likely, if the Fireflies did have a cure for the infection, they would try to use it to their advantage. They wouldn't just try to go out and try to be like the saviors of the world and everything like that. They were in war with, you know, the government and everything like that. So I feel like they wouldn't have done it in the, like, out of the goodness of their heart. They would have still tried to use it to their advantage in that aspect of it. So yeah, just this debate I think is one that I've, you know, had lots of time to think about, and it's one of those things, especially because I've been such a big fan of The Last of Us, like I stated, that it's something I've thought about a lot. So seeing this information from Neil Druckmann, and especially the way that he, like I said, the way that he had Joel get treated in the sequel, makes me believe that he's full of shit, and I don't trust his answer on this one. So I don't know. I mean, there are people out there that I'm sure probably could think that he's you know being honest in this. I personally don't, and I think you got to take what he says, everything he says, with a grain of salt. So yeah, so those are my thoughts on that. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Is there any fans of The Last of Us out there, Last of Us, you know, 1 and 2 out there, or just the first one? Do you think Joel was in the right? And do you guys think that Neil Druckmann is being honest here? Personally, like I said, I don't believe him, and I think that he's just making this up. I feel like he's just saying this because he knows what the fans actually like. So if you guys can let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments, if you guys could like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you guys have been watching this long, I really appreciate it. It means a lot. And yeah, until next time, Harmonic out. Peace.